everyone, and welcome to another episode of Poke the Meta, a show about the Japanese Pokemon TCG metagame. This week I would like to talk about another card from the Sun and Moon collection that has been creeping its way into my local metagame. That card happens to be Incineroar GX. Incineroar GX is another one of those cards that at first glance it doesn't look all that great. While the 250 HP is pretty desirable and makes it harder to one-hit KO, its biggest problem is that it's a stage 2 Pokemon with honestly not the greatest moveset. Tiger Swing costs 2 fire energy and 1 colorless. It does 80 damage and lets you flip 2 coins. For each heads, it does 50 more damage. Some might say, hey, this attack has the potential of doing 180 damage, but the attack is ultimately pretty useless. And to follow that up, for the same energy cost, you could use its GX attack, Burning Slam GX. It does 200 damage and also burns your opponent's Pokemon. When most people first saw this card's GX attack hitting for 200 damage plus a guaranteed 20 damage for burn in between turns with the rule change in Sun and Moon, it seemed really powerful. And at the time, that would one-hit KO almost any Pokemon in the format, even if they had a Fighting Fury belt attached to them. Even though it would burn up your GX move. With Lysander, you could almost guarantee to take your last 2 prizes of the game with that single attack. But Sun and Moon would come and go, and we'd even get another set before I start seeing this card popping up at our tournaments. And you might be asking yourself at this point, why in the world would anyone play Incineroar GX? And the reason is simple. It's for the last attack that I haven't talked about yet, Hustling Strike. Hustling Strike is where this card shines. It's an attack for 1 fire energy that does 10 damage plus 20 damage for each fire Pokemon on your bench. And while sure, it's no Mega Rayquaza EX, which does 30 times the number of bench Pokemon you have, with all the fire utility in the format, its damage can stack up extremely fast. Consider this. Volcanion is a very strong deck no matter where you go. I would wager it's probably better here in Japan because we still have Battle Compressor and Blacksmith, but just look at the past regionals we've had these last couple weeks in America and in Europe. The deck is still top cutting pretty consistently. It's doing extremely well across the board. A lot of times in the Volcanion deck, you spend many turns attacking with the baby Volcanion that does 20 damage and powers up your big boys on the bench. With Volcanion EX's ability Steam Up, it gives the strength to any fire Pokemon that attacks for considerably lower damage to swing out more consistent powerful hits each turn. If all Volcanion needs to do is sit on the bench, he seems like a perfect tag team partner for the old Fire Cat wrestler. Which leads me to what makes Incineroar a better card. Volcanion Incineroar has been a pretty common deck for me to play against these last couple weeks, and it's only one that I think is going to get better. After watching Madison Regionals, it dawned on me that these slower evolution decks might not be as bad as some people think. Since Garbodor is really reigning powerful at the moment, a lot of people have opted to play not as many items and instead take the evolutionary route to counter the Trash King. And once I realized that, it finally made sense to me why Garbodor hasn't been seeing as much play in my local area. It's interesting, because I think this is a rare instance where Pokemon has introduced a very strong competitor to the game, and it didn't immediately become an overpowered tyrant in the meta, but instead, it opened the format for some more creative ideas. Next week sees the launch of Sun and Moon Set 3, to have seen the Battle Rainbow / darkness that consumes light here in Japan. And with that comes more utility for Incineroar in the form of everyone's favorite Phoenix Pokemon, Ho-Oh-GX. Currently, most people are playing the Fire Oricorio to start off the game with its Passionate Dance attack, which lets you search your deck for 3 basic Fire Pokemon and put them onto your bench. While this seems like a quick and easy way to get out Fire Pokemon, Ho-Oh-GX has a more optimal way of getting out Incineroar. Its GX attack is really powerful. Eternal Light GX costs 1 fire and a DCE. It doesn't do any damage, but it states put 3 in any combination of fire Pokemon GX or Pokemon EX from your discard pile to your bench. That paves the road for a faster Incineroar play since you won't have to evolve it. I think this deck has a lot of potential of seeing more play in the international scene, but since Battle Compressor is not in the standard format, I can see it being considered not as reliable as just playing Volcanion by itself. But with its relatively small cost to attack and its high HP, I don't think it's anything that people should just write off just yet. It can put up some big numbers really quick and has a lot of secondary attacker options. Let's set up a scenario. You have an active Incineroar GX, and on your bench you have another Incineroar GX, a Ho-Oh GX, and 3 Volcanion EX. On your turn, you use the Steam Up ability from each of your Volcanion EX, adding 90 damage to your fire Pokemon's attacks this turn. Adding 90 makes Hustling Strike's base become 100 damage. You then add 20 more damage for each fire Pokemon on your bench. You have 5 fire Pokemon on your bench, doing another 100 damage. For 1 energy, you are swinging 200 damage this turn. And that's not even including the option for a Choice Band or a Skyfield. But let's say you have a Skyfield with just 1 more fire Pokemon on your bench, and a Choice Band attached. You would be doing 250 damage to a GX or EX Pokemon, a number which can knock out any Pokemon in the format for 1 energy. And sure, this is the most perfect situation you would want to be in or could be in. It's one you should definitely strive for, and I think is very, very possible if you get the Ho-Oh GX Eternal Light GX attack off in the early game. Anyone looking for a new deck to play, or just to change it up a little, I highly suggest this one. When Ho-Oh GX comes out, I'll definitely do more testing with the idea and see if any more decks pop up at our tournaments. But I feel like it's going to be a very powerful deck here in Japan, and I can't wait to see what happens with it. Without the Ho-Oh, I've seen Incineroar in a couple top 4s, and it's even won one of our tournaments. But I can see where it might be a little lackluster on the international side. If I were you, I would keep my eye on this deck though. So with that, here's a 45 card skeleton for this list. It's pretty basic, and I've left some spots open for creativity. Test around with it and tell me how you like it. Of course, Ho-Oh won't be out for a couple of months for you American and international viewers, but it doesn't hurt to practice ahead of time. So that's Incineroar, the tag team champion. I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and tell me down in the comments below if you have any thoughts on Incineroar as a deck, or where it might fit in the metagame. And if you missed last week's video, be sure to check it out. It's on the Trial Captain Ilima, and I think it's a pretty amazing card. And be sure to let me know about any card you would want to hear me talk about in the future. Thanks for watching. This has been Poke the Meta. I've been Burezu, and I'll see you next week.